Hey guys, so here bringing you another video. Now, welcome to a kind of big video, I guess. This is all the stuff that is happening in League of Legends from this current season to next season. You know, like the pre-season, even though we're not getting it on live servers anymore, it'll be hitting the PBE in the next couple days. So, this video, I'm going to go over as best I can some of the updates. I don't have everything in full detail, and they've sent me so many little videos and just pictures. It is going to be a bit hard to keep up and organize it well. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it nonetheless. The big thing that they are doing is they are updating the Rift to be more Void-like. So that's number one, and that's the biggest thing we're going to go over first. There's quite a few things that we can go over. But basically, as the thumbnail shows, this image, so they are basically making the Rift a lot more Void-like. So there's going to be more Void creatures and Void things happen throughout the map. Baron has also been updated. And yeah, quite a lot has actually happened. So it is worth knowing, in the dev meeting I was a part of a week ago or so, someone did say, is this leading up to a big Void event? And they said no. They are just updating the Rift. It's that simple. And a big part of this as well, I think, is, you know, you've got elemental dragons that kind of dominate the bottom side of the map. They wanted something else, a lot of the other side of the map, where that's where a lot of the different changes are happening. So, the first thing we're going to get into, and again, I have to find all the right pictures and everything, these. So, you might be like, what the hell are they? So, these are Void Grubs and Void Mites. So, Void Grubs are a brand new inhabitants of the Baron Pit, that will be taking the place of the first Rift Herald of each game before despawning at 14 minutes. Starting at 5 minutes, 3 Void Grubs will spawn, each with its own respawn timer, and a maximum of 6 can spawn in a single game. When aggroed, each Void Grub will unleash a swarm of Void Mites. So again, the Void Grubs are kind of like the big mouthy things, and the smaller things are the Grubs. Or the Mites. Yeah, the Mites. When aggroed, each Void Grub will unleash a swarm of Void Mites to attack their enemies. Players that slay Void Grubs, so the bigger thing, will earn the Hunger of the Void buff that gives the user damage over time bonus to structures. And this buff stacks based on the amount of Void Grubs taken down. Slaying 5 or 6 will cause the player to periodically summon 1 or 2 Void Mites, respectively, that will help take down structures. So this is the big kind of thing. More, I would even say, for top laners than junglers. And yeah, junglers are going to help, but what they are getting away from, and I like it, and this is what Riot's reasoning was, is a jungler takes Rift Herald 8 minutes in the game, they run top lane, they use it, they run away, they don't even stay, and more than half of the top lane tower's destroyed, and that interactivity that the enemy top laner gets to have doesn't exist. Like, they can't defend it, it's happening. What this is it's a bigger fight area. So again, this fight is happening, you know, both top laners may come down, both junglers may fight for it. It's not simple as get the last smite on one monster. You may get one of those grubs. The enemy team may get one of those grubs, and then you might all die. But the idea is you have to be more present for doing the tower damage that you've earned through getting the buff. And I like that. I do like that a lot. And obviously this, again, it kind of goes into top laners potentially wanting this, because a jungler is not going to stay a crazy long time to kill the top lane tower or to kill the mid lane tower. They've got jungling to do. So this is an incentive for the laners to actually get this buff. So it's kind of bringing something a bit quicker to, you know, top lane fighting and stuff, which I actually quite like. They also sent me that, so that's what they look like when they're not aggroed, so they're just kind of chilling in the Baron Pit. Right, the next up, this is fighting the grubs, so this is what it will generally look like. So you can see it's a bit of a mess because they're spawning all these little mites and everything. So it's going to be quite messy. There's going to be a lot happening. So yeah, that to me, I would say already is quite a cool thing. And then what's this one? Who knows? They just sent me so many images. Right, so what should we go over next? There's literally so much. So we'll continue with the the void things. There's 4 void things. Next, we'll go over... What should we do? Rift Herald. Do I have an image for Rift Herald? Yes, I do. Ba-boom. So Rift Herald is being updated. So Rift Herald is back, but with a brand new Void Grub inspired look. New in the season start 2024, when players crush the Eye of the Herald, Rift Herald will spawn as usual, but the user or an allied champion will be able to right-click the Rift Herald to jump onto it. The player will then be able to steer Rift Herald and command it to charge forward. Think of a Scion ultimate. Damaging and knocking up any enemy in its path. If players charge the Rift Herald into a turret, it will do even more damage than if the Rift Herald charged into it without being controlled. After colliding with the terrain or turret, the champion riding the Rift Herald will be knocked out, going back to their usual self. So yeah, you can do Rift Herald normal, you can summon Rift Herald normal, and you can ignore Rift Herald. But when it smashes into a tower, it's not going to do as much damage if you don't jump on and ride it. So I don't actually know if I've got a clip of that. I will look through what they have sent me. Again, obviously, I only can really use what they've sent me. And unfortunately, no, I don't have an image of that, unfortunately. But yeah, so you can jump on Rift Herald and basically think that you're a Scion ultimate. Now, the one thing that I don't know fully, because it says, you know, you can steer the Rift Herald and command it to charge forward, damaging and knocking up any enemy champions in its path. To me, that means you can't stop the Rift Herald charge like you can a Scion ultimate. It is just going to go forward and you're going to get knocked out the way. That's what I'm guessing. But again, another thing that Riot's trying to make here, it's very similar to their Void, Might, and Grub thing. They are fed up, and I think the player base is fed up, of towers simply dying from people not even damaging them themselves. You know, you kill Rift Herald, you just set it loose, and oh, the tower's dead, bye. They don't like that. They want the player to have to be more involved. So, yeah, you can still summon Rift Herald and ignore it, and it might get a couple of plates. But they don't want that. They're incentivizing you to risk more by jumping on it and going straight into a tower yourself. Again, if you do it at a bad time and you charge into a tower and there's no friendly minions, you're going to get aggro probably straight away, and you're probably going to die. So you're going to have to do this carefully, but I do quite like it. Okay, the next one we'll go over. I'm going basically by time, and the next 2 things both happen at 20 minutes. So again, just to make it clear, Void Grubs and Void Mites are from, I think, 5 minutes to 14 minutes. The Rift Herald spawns from 14 minutes to 20 minutes. And these next 2 things happen at 20 minutes. Let's go over... What should we do? Yeah, let's go over this, because this might be a bit of a shock to some people. Void Camps. So we've got Void Red and Void Blue. So yes, we are actually having a bit of an update to the actual jungle itself. So let's put them both there like that. So, starting at 20 minutes into the game, the next Blue Sentinel or Red Brambleback, red or blue buff, respawn. They will rise again as Voidborn Sentinel and Voidborn Brambleback, respectively. Their transformation makes them harder to take down, but now grants their respective buffs to the entire team of the player that takes them down, excluding any allies that were dead at the time of it dying. Also at 20 minutes, Rift Scuttler will next respawn as Voidborn Scuttler, and when slain, Voidborn Scuttler will send out a massive Scryer's Bloom effect, revealing all champions and wards in a large surrounding area, similar to Scryer's Bloom, and then all revealed this way will be reduced to 1 HP. Do I have any of that stuff? I don't think so. Oh, wait, I've got Void Scuttler. Yeah, I do. So those are the buffs, and then Void Scuttler is that. So just to make it very clear, at 20 minutes, all the buffs are red buff and blue buff on both sides become Void versions. If you kill that, then everybody on your team gets blue buff, or everybody on your team gets red buff. Why this is, because some people were like, whoa. Riot want to make it more impactful of these certain buffs. So what they said is, denying, you know, if the enemy team has got, I don't know, 3 mages or 3 heavy mana users, you don't want all 3 of them to have mana, so you may fight them more at their blue. You will try to deny their blue harder than before, because now only one person gets blue and the jungler gets blue. Well, now everybody can have blue, or everyone can have red. So they're basically making these bigger fighting points, not just a little like, all right, yeah, just kill the buff, no big deal. They want to actually make it more impactful. And that's what a lot of these things are actually trying to achieve, is making the whole map as a whole more impactful. So again, I quite like the change. It's going to be maybe a bit chaotic, but sounds pretty cool. Okay, and now the big one, which again happens at 20 minutes, Baron Nashor. So the best way I can achieve this is if I just bring up all the Baron pictures together. So there's one Baron, but that's different. There's another Baron, looks pretty normal. And then we've also got, this Baron, you know, nice little, oh, is that the same? That looks vaguely the same, but again, I'm just going to bring up all the pictures that they've sent me, because they are technically all separate pictures. So there's definitely 3 different looks of Baron there. Oh no, they are different, I think, because yeah, the front area, oh no, maybe the bottom right one and the top right one are basically the same, maybe. Anyway, let's read what Baron does. So some people I think are going to like this, some people aren't, because it adds kind of more complication to the game, where like there's already elemental dragons that you go into a game of League, and there's different elemental dragons each game. There's now going to be different Barons each game. They're not as big differences, I will say, as dragons, but yeah. So in addition to the visual update, Baron Nashor is also getting 3 brand new forms: Territorial Baron, Hunting Baron, and All-Seeing Baron. Each one of these forms comes with their own terrain changes to the pit. Hunting Baron leaves the pit unchanged, so that will be the top left one. Oh yeah, that will be the top left one, because that is basically the modern pit anyway. Territorial Baron creates a wall in front of the pit, which again is the bottom right one and the top right one. I do think it is the same, but one's just more zoomed out to give you a bigger idea of what's happening. And the All-Seeing Baron closes off the front and opens up both sides, creating a tunnel. So that will be the bottom left one. So there is still like a little front entrance, but the main entrances are to the side. Additionally, each variation of Baron comes with different attacks. Hunting Baron blasts all enemies with lightning from above. Territorial Baron uses his new hands to pull champions towards him. And the All-Seeing Baron opens a void rift that creates damage over time zone within the new tunnel pit. So it is worth knowing, I believe Baron buff has basically is unchanged. So the buff you get from killing Baron is the same. So buffs up your minions, easier for pushing, etc. But it's basically just giving more variance. Now, it's another unknown going into the game. You know, you don't know which Baron's going to happen. And that is also the point. A question was asked, like, is there going to be a marking in the Baron pit to tell you which one it's going to be? No. At 20 minutes, when Baron spawns, it will change the terrain and it will be one of these 3. Oh, well, otherwise it won't change the terrain. It'll be normal-ish Baron. Or it'll be one of the 2 kind of new Baron pits. So that's all the changes when it comes to the Void and the map. I actually think they're pretty cool, personally. So let me know what you think about that. Next up, we're going to go into terrain changes. So the actual map of League of Legends is changing. Let's start with top lane. So we'll do that and we'll do this. So we'll have 2 different kind of images at a time, just to show you kind of little things. So this is top lane. You can probably tell already quite a bit has changed. So the top lane will feature 2 major changes. The terrain on both sides will now be more closely mirrored. And there will be a new small wall and brush combination in the middle of the river entrance. So one of the goals that Riot did say in the dev meeting that they were trying to do is they were trying to close the discrepancy between red and blue side, because the maps are different. You know, they literally are different. They're not symmetrical fully. So they are trying to close that as much as they can within reason, trying to make it as symmetrical as possible. So you may notice what's called Pixel Bush is now located in the middle there, and there is no bush then hugging the left side of the river kind of entering top lane anymore. And again, I think that's basically to make it even for both top laners, because it was on one side of the river, well, the other side didn't have it. So it's trying to make it as even as possible upon entering the lane. If you were playing top lane and you're getting ganked by a jungler or something, there's only that small pixel bush, so you could basically put a ward there and you get vision of the whole entry, more or less. So other than that, not crazy amount of changes. Top lane obviously is relatively okay in terms of its structure. Obviously, one of the biggest complaints people have had has always been mid lane. So mid lane, boom, obviously the lane that I care about the most. So mid lane, the brush will be moved slightly back, providing more safety for less mobile champions. Now, this is a really big deal for most mid lane mages that have immobility. When the bush, you can see, is kind of being put further back into the river, it basically gives mages more time to react to ganks. Upon that as well, you may notice the entrance ways in certain avenues are a lot closer to the turret. So if you look at the kind of turret at the bottom, to the left of that, there's an entranceway to mid lane. You're not really going to get ganked by a jungler from that way, unless, you know, not in at least the early game. And the exact same for the other side, the top tower to the right of that tower. There's another entranceway, but it's basically in your friendly territory. So it's not really an avenue for ganking, at least in the early game. Obviously, when these towers die, it does give that kind of more mobility within and out the jungle. But yeah, so that's a bit more safety for mid laners. And again, if you're playing an immobile mage, there is sometimes very little you can do to avoid getting ganked constantly. You're still going to get ganked, but it's making it a little bit easier if you are very immobile. And this was one of the things that Riot said. Obviously, mages have not had an amazing time in the last couple of years, with it being one-shot meta, assassin meta, roaming meta. This is one of the things that they did say is we're going to try and help mages, immobile mages, with a terrain change. And this is definitely going to be part of that. So I do like it. It does a pretty good job of what it's kind of saying, I would say. It makes it harder to gank, but still can get ganked. And also the bushes give a little bit more safety. So when a jungler's in that bush before, they could literally just go straight into the lane. There wasn't really a gap. Well, now if they're looking for, if they're waiting in that bush and they want to gank mid, they have to expose themselves in vision a bit before the gank can actually happen, maybe giving that mid laner a bit more time to react. So again, I do like that. All right, next up is what we'll do. Let's do bot lane. So bot lane again has had some changes. Where are we? So similar to the change coming to top lane, a small wall and brush combination will be added to the bot side. Additionally, the blue tri-bush area has been mirrored onto the red side. These changes are designed to make the lane more symmetrical, eliminating any side-based advantages. So yeah, you can kind of see, you know, the top of the bot side, it's very similar terrain, very similar bush structure. There's two now tri-bushes entering and exiting the jungle. It's trying just to make it a little bit more even, you know, not an advantage to be one side or the other. So that's what they're trying to do. I do have just a couple more things, like that is a bot lane river. So this is obviously near the dragon pit. A couple little changes here, you know, nothing crazy. So the biggest terrain change will be the addition of a wide walls directly across from the Baron and Drake. So they've got opposite, you know, if you're at the dragon pit, opposite it, it's a wide wall. I guess they're making the distinction a wide wall because not every champion can jump over that, and you may even fail your flash if you muck it, like mistime it. So that's the dragon area. And I think, do I have a Baron one? Or we probably would have seen it. That one doesn't show us. I'm trying to see, do I have a similar one? Oh, wait, there you go. Nope, that's with the wall. That's already there from a new Baron. Yeah, I don't think they've given me it. So there's that. Okay, and then basically, the next thing I can cut and talk about is items. But the thing with items, I can't really just bring them all up because that would be way too complicated. So I can basically just talk about what's actually happening in brief. I might do a separate video with items if I'm completely honest, because again, that is a big enough topic by itself. But TLDR, what's happening with items is they are revamping the item system. Mythics are gone. And with that is bringing down the power level of items. One thing I asked is, with the power decrease of items, are they expecting a damage nerf? And they said yes, they are expecting a slight damage nerf overall, but nothing major. I then also asked, just again, another question that people probably will not want to know, is Hullbreaker surviving? Because again, a lot of people deem it an unhealthy item. Unfortunately, it is surviving, but they have said it's been receiving a big update to make it less oppressive and less unhealthy. We don't have the data specifically of each individual item yet, so that's what to be said. As for new items, the most new items for a single class are mages. And again, that is something that Riot promised, is they want to try and help the mage class because it has been struggling for a few years. So mages are getting the most items. Supports are also getting a few. The class that is having the least item upgrade and changes is AD Carry, because they had one only a couple months ago. But overall, the idea is to try and make the champions the more important thing. And I didn't even ask that question. That was a Riot dev saying it in his kind of speech, was, for a long time, items have kind of taken a bit of priority. We want you to, and I think the example he used was, we want you to pick Wukong because you like playing Wukong, not because Divine Sunderer is really strong. Like, so they are trying to bring back champions being the key element, which is great. That was music to my ears, because it is literally been 1 to 2 years of items being way too overpowered. And part of that was the mythic system. You know, mythic items were just way too strong, really. But it was the whole ethos of how they were developing the game, I think, was the direction of items, items, items. And it does look like they're going back on that. And champions, hopefully, will take a bit more of a precedent. Now, what I can show you, I do actually have some of the artwork of the new stuff. So what I can do, it might be a bit messy, but boom, I just loaded them all in. So that one is called Zorn Chemical Tank. That one's called Void Bomb. Treasure Map. So again, I have no idea what these do. Treasure Chest, Sundered Sky, looks like Divine Sunderer, Subtlety, cool, Steel Sigil, Speed with Friends. Again, some of these might not be the final name. Shadow Isles Flower, Sentinel's Bow, Profane Hydra, Pit Fighter's Blade, Piltover's Revolver, Nether Shard, Little Haste, I presume it's a new potion, may give you ability haste. So that is an item revamp for Support 2 and Support 1, who knows. Hubris, I think Hubris was one of the new mage items. Freljord Thunder, Drake Bane, Bulwark of the Mountain, obviously updated a bit. Brutalizer, updated a bit. Broken Arm Guard, updated a bit, because of, yeah. Bandle Compass, and Astrolabe. So there we go. That's just some of the new items that are coming. Again, we don't have a cheat sheet of all the new items, unfortunately. Additional changes that I can add, though, and again, I'll just read this word for word, so it's Riot themselves saying it. So item changes, what they're saying is mythic items will be removed from the game with the goal of shifting power from items into the champions themselves and giving players more flexibility with their build paths. With this change, there will come a plethora of additional item additions, removal, and adjustments of power and effects. Additionally, an upgrade to item tooltip will be rolled out, making descriptions more digestible at a glance while keeping detailed information viewable as needed. Next up is Drake changes. Once Infernal Drake's Infernal Rift is locked in, Infernal Cinders will spawn around the map. Each cinder will give the champion that picked it up adaptive stats and a burst of movement speed. Upon death, champions will drop half of the cinders, which can be picked up by allied or enemy champions. Also, given the new terrain changes, a few or small walls, brushes for Mountain Dragon, Ocean Dragon will be removed. So yeah, basically Infernal Dragon's getting an extra mini game part of the map. I guess because Inferno is kind of the most exciting one, is my guess. And then dynamic music, alongside visual changes coming to Baron Pit, new music will be added when fighting around Baron and other Void objectives. I would guess, again, the whole adaptive music, if you haven't been made aware of the new TFT patch coming, they're doing dynamic shifting music depending on what you're building in your set. They probably have kind of learnt the technology of how to do dynamic music well, so they're kind of implementing that slightly into League of Legends. But there we go. So that is the preview. We'll definitely obviously cover more, you know, if they release a proper dev blog. But this is what I got from the meeting, and it was really good. So overall, I'm actually quite excited. You know, I actually left that meeting and I was talking to my girlfriend, and I was like, they're actually pretty positive. So we're getting map changes to try and make the map more even, so it's not biased to one side. Mid lane, obviously my main lane, and mages I love to play. They're making it better for mages. You know, they're not making it impossible for junglers to gank mid, but it's easier for an immobile mage, which is good. Item updates is good, and mages are having the most item updates. All these Rift and Baron and Void changes actually sound quite exciting. So honestly, there's quite a lot of good stuff here, and yet the biggest thing is they're shifting the power everything from items to champions. That's great. But anyway, that's going to be it. Let me know what you think of it. I'm actually pretty excited. And yeah, if you enjoy it, throw a like on the video, subscribe if you want to hear more. Obviously, I always get invited to Riot meetings, so I always kind of have this information early, and I can talk about it, digest it, and I hope I digest it well for you guys and kind of discuss it well. But anyway, that's going to be it. If you guys enjoyed, do throw a like on it, throw a comment, throw a subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.